Hey.
I'm so excited to do this. I'm like literally getting ourselves into, but
I don't know. The fun of your good ideas. Let's just do it.
So hi guys, welcome to Sip and Spill. I'm Coreen, the founder of Inner Pttrn, and today we're gonna dive into the tea. We're gonna talk about ourselves. Really the whole point of this is to get to know each other better and to also help all of you get to know us a little bit better. As wellness practitioners, I think it's really important to know a little bit more of the people that we're working with. I feel like it helps us relate to people, connect, and just dive a little deeper than we normally would. So thanks for doing this with me.
Thanks for having me. A little nerve-wracking, but you know, such is life.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be so fun.
It is.
At least we have like some fun topics we're gonna talk about.
Yeah,
So.
we always have a good time together anyway, so it's the Cancer Taurus vibe.
I love it. I'm here for it. So before we dive into some questions,
Okay.
so you guys know we have a list of questions in here that we're gonna like ask each other, we're gonna surprise each other with. There's also some questions from the game. We're not really strangers, so some spicy ones, some more like deeper ones, connection vibes, so we'll get into it. But before we do that, I wanted to talk a little bit more about you, Irene, and more of like what you do here with Inner Pttrn and your work.
So I'm Irene Rodriguez. I am a practicing Santera priestess of Oya for the last 14 and a half years. Some might say I'm an elder now, which is a little awkward, but you know, blood, sweat, and tears have come a long way. So here at Inner Pttrn, bringing what I know, what I practice, I do the ancestral readings primarily, guiding, not me just guiding, but like spirit guiding me as a messenger to people so they can start their spiritual journey and connect first and foremost with their ancestors, because without our ancestors, there's nothing else. They are the stepping stool of all paths, pretty much, of spirituality, and our ancestors are there just in a different capacity, and we have to kind of light the fire to capture them and bring them closer to us so that way we can heed their message and their warning. They're here to help, so that's what those readings help allow, and using the tools that we already have inside of us and our surroundings so that way it could be an easy start versus feeling overwhelmed and doing like all these big things and ceremonies, when the first step in ceremony and connecting with the ancestors is just pretty much sitting down and just quieting the mind, and that's free.
I love that.
And then also I brought in the waist beads and using waist beads as a spiritual tool in our paths and manifesting what we want.
Okay, so what would you say is your favorite part about your work?
My work within a pattern?
Yes.
With the waist beads, when I teach the classes or just connecting with somebody to tie them on, it's allowed me to work with hundreds of women from all different walks of life. And I've made so many new friends through my waist beads, and I've become such a good friend for people, and hearing their stories, hearing their journey, being able to create a safe space for women to even just share even a piece of their story. That's been my favorite part. And it also keeps me in check and accountable, that I have to maintain my own cleansings and energetic grounding, because when I'm tying a waist bead on someone, my hands are really close to their bodies, and especially in their womb area, which we all have so much issues and traumas around, that I have to make sure I'm spiritually clean. So it keeps me accountable. It's one of my favorite things. And then with my ancestral readings, no reading is ever the same. It may start the same, like the ritual part of like making space, but they just go in different directions. And it's so cool. It's so cool. And doing readings for different cultures that I may not be too familiar with. And I'll start seeing things or visuals, and I'm like, what is this? And I'll start like sharing what I see, spiritually see, and they're like, oh, that's this ritual of, and I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
You know,
I love that.
yeah, because I don't know so much, and it's really allowed me to see other people and see their cultures from a really intimate perspective. And like I'll have their grandma telling me something and like, you have to do this. I'm like, your grandma said you gotta do this. So it's like I'm there and I'm seeing it, and like I almost feel intrusive. Like, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be like nosy, but they're showing me to show them, and it's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
I think that's, for me, such a cool part too. As a Reiki practitioner, there was this one time I was working with a client and I saw like textiles, and I kept doing this motion where it was almost like weaving of the textiles. And I'm like, I don't know anything about this, right? I don't know what it means. So after the session, I told her what I saw, and she was like, my whole family has worked in textiles for generations. And I was like,
look at that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Can confirm. Yeah. I'm like, I don't, this doesn't really help either of us, but.
But that means they were present and they were there, and that's confirmation that she's receiving the blessing of her ancestors, and she needs to keep that work going. So
exactly.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
It is
to connect in such different ways. And I feel like that's how I know that I'm really letting my intuition lead and my spirits lead, because I can't make up textiles.
No, you can't. Yeah. There's always a moment in a reading where a person may start to cry, and I just have to allow them the space to cry, because what could seem sad at first, it becomes tears of awakening, and they're like, oh my God, I didn't know this, or this makes so much sense, and it just aligns, and I'm like, okay, so the tears will eventually become a good thing, and that's when you kind of know that they've had a breakthrough. Not that I want people to cry, that seems weird, but it's so cleansing for them in that moment, and it doesn't matter if we're on Zoom, in person, or wherever, it's such a moment of awakening, and oftentimes, we're told not to cry because it's a moment of weakness, but in these readings, to cry means that they're connecting, they're cleansing, and they're just refreshing that moment so they can move on to the next level of connection with their ancestors. And to see the transformation on their face is so powerful. And I'm like, this is why I do this work. It's tough sometimes, but this is why we do it.
100%. I love seeing people cry. Let's normalize crying.
Normalize crying. And we're not going to stay there, right? Not to stay in the crying, but use it as a tool.
Exactly.
To manifest and to push through, because sometimes if you don't cry, you're like hurting yourself or making some stupid egotistical mistake, in which we've all done, but just normalize the cry, clean it up, and you wipe yourself off and get back up and you go. Keep it moving. Yeah.
Dust yourself off and try again. All right.
Oh boy.
Shall we get into the tea?
Hold on, I need some more.
If you want, you can ask me the first question, since I've been going.
I'm gonna do this one because it's sticking out.
Okay.
We just said this. What lesson took you the longest to unlearn? Or still unlearning?
Always unlearning.
Yes.
Always unlearning. Oh, I think, so most of the questions are about love, so we can get into the love vibes, but
It's February, the month of love.
Right. It definitely took me a long time to learn how to love myself, or how to stop seeing myself in a negative light.
Okay.
Being I feel like when we grow up, we're like our harshest critic. Is that the saying?
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that anymore. I want to look in the mirror and be like, I look beautiful. And it doesn't mean that I'm perfect or need to glamorize my imperfections, but this morning I woke up, I had a massive pimple on my chin, and I was like, it is what it is. Don't care.
That's
just
you're releasing the toxins from your body.
Right? I'm like, get it out. Good. My mask last night is working.
Yes.
But I used to just be down on myself so much, and I would look at the pimple and be like, oh, see, I shouldn't have done this, or just would have blamed myself in so many different directions instead of just being like, it is what it is, and keep it moving. So I think that has affected me in so many different ways where I can just accept myself for who I am and where I'm at, knowing that I can improve or change or do really whatever I want. So I think that was my biggest one.
Love that. That should be like some heavy question. Boom.
Yeah. I'm dead. We manifested this. Have you ever had a "this is my villain" origin story?
Yes, hell yeah.
Tell me.
Definitely. So I'm divorced.
Getting into the tea. Let's go.
Wait, I'm thinking. Holy shit! It's 10 years this year.
Wow.
I'm happily divorced, and I wouldn't change anything. But my villain story starts the day of my separation. 3/3, March 3rd. Never forget that date. I was put in a really compromising situation where I was unsafe. My son was unsafe. Even they were unsafe to themselves, and I said, "That's it." And that's it. I'm done.
Yeah.
Didn't know where the hell I was going. I was a stay-at-home mom. I didn't have any income coming in. I was, I had to move back to my mom's house. I pretty much left with my Orishas, my son, and a couple clothes and important documents, and started from scratch, right? And that day has been used constantly, being like against me, thrown against me, and I don't give a fuck. I don't, because if you're gonna be with somebody, you should be safe with each other, and there's gonna be uncomfortability, there's gonna be hard conversations, but you still need to maintain respect and safety, and that wasn't given to me, and even more so, that wasn't given to my son. So I was just like, that's it. And from that day on, it took a long time. I've come a long way, 10 years in making. But I always go back to that. When somebody really shows you that maybe they don't like you, you should stay there. And as you look back, and as I look back and I think about it, I'm like, I didn't like that person that was being shown to me, and I stayed. And I stayed because I thought maybe we could work to it, and maybe there was a point where we could have worked to it. But if a person is constantly showing that they don't like you, get out. Mm-hmm. Because it's, and when you think about domestic violence, it's always assumed to be like physically violent, and there's so many different ways. And I started to do, because I'm a researcher, I was a teacher for a long time, I love education. I started to research this, and I was like, oh shoot, I'm like at stage number 2, 3. I don't want to be at stage 7 where, so I started to plan, and really think about this and talk about it. Mm-hmm. But it didn't want to be brought up, so I couldn't talk about it. So my villain story is just taking my power back, protecting myself and my son, and doing what I had to do. And if I'm blamed for it, oh, the fuck well. Period. Because I did what I had to do, and if anyone in that situation, it was in a similar situation, God forbid worse, man or woman, I would tell them the same thing. Yeah. You have to protect yourself. You have to protect your energy, and when a person shows that they show you everything through their actions. Mm-hmm. And as women, sometimes we're just like, oh no, maybe, but I don't know, or but this, or maybe if I just do that, then no. There is power in patterns, and if you pay attention to the pattern, and if that pattern is not of love and safety, it might be time to separate. And the separation doesn't have to be violent, it doesn't have to be aggressive, it doesn't have to be mad. We can respectfully separate. Yeah. And there you go. So that is the origin of my villain story, and I will forever carry the light in the dark since then, because it is okay to be dark when you need to, and it's okay to be light when you need to, because they coincide together. I think about Lilith, you know, the goddess Lilith.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, there
I'm
you
so
go.
proud of you.
Thank you.
I know it's tough, but
Mhm.
but we know too, like when how you were saying when you're like it's starting to feel like to a certain extent you're like, wait, I know my feelings. I know that I'm right here. Or it doesn't even have to be we're right, they're wrong, but we know how we feel, and it's so easy to sweep things under the rug.
Yeah.
Just be like, well, this or that, but
Yeah.
you know.
And you're right about the whole, doesn't have to be right and wrong, but coming from a place of understanding. And if one partner's feeling one way and the other partner's feeling a different way, to be able to come together and explain that and understand each other, you don't have to accept,
Right.
but just understand it's an act of love in itself.
For sure.
And if a person is not doing that, or you're not doing it for somebody, because it can go both ways, it might be time to change or to reevaluate things.
100%. I love that for you.
Thanks. My turn?
Your turn.
All right. This is a key one. What's a green flag that instantly makes you swoon?
Oh.
I see swooning, Coreen.
I want to swoon. Let me think. I think I love a man who can plan. Who's like, hey, I'm gonna pick you up at this time. We're going. I made reservations at this dinner place because I know that you like whatever. You know, like make, not that I need a whole itinerary, but like have a plan. Because I think especially as an entrepreneur, I plan so much, problem solving all day, every day. It's nice to have that understanding where he's like, don't worry, I got it. I'm like, yes.
I love that. That reminds me of this a day, I went on this date. I was actually on a date, right? And he's like, you know, what kind of food, whatever, talk. Within like 10 minutes, I received a confirmation to a reservation. I was just like, yes!
Right?
I don't have to think about it. I don't have to like, oh, well, what do you want? We've talked enough where you know what we like. So
Yeah.
it just takes this level of pressure, just one less thing to decide.
Yeah.
Because decision making is exhausting.
It is. I had this guy ask me out, and he was like, let me know where he was like, I know women like to decide, so like, let me know what the plan is. And I'm like, we never saw each other. Never came up with a plan. I was like, it's not gonna be me, babe. Sorry. Like, if you want to see me,
I'm deciding for you to make the plan.
Right. And I almost said that. I was like, I really don't like making plans though. So I was like, these women you're talking about, I'm not one of them. And he was like, great, so let me know what you want to do. And I'm like, oh, you're not even listening to me. So it just never happened,
Yes.
obviously. Thank you, Nix. This is like my favorite part. Okay. What's a romantic ick you can't unsee?
When a man tells everyone else how beautiful I am but won't tell me.
Oh.
It almost, like if you can't tell me how you feel directly, whether it's I'm beautiful or I'm happy with you or anything, and you tell everyone else except me, it makes it seem like you're just putting on a show.
Mm-hmm.
Or like this is just a trophy and I'm just playing this part of like the voting partner, and everyone's like, oh my god, but they're so great together. And then in private, not so much.
Yeah.
So that's my
That's a
big
good one.
ick.
I don't think I've had that happen to me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
To date a narcissist.
I've been there. I've been there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's your turn.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Oh, the narcissists.
Oh, what's a love wound you've had to heal?
Ooh.
There's some good ones in here.
Right? What's a love wound I've had to heal? Quite a few.
Same.
Oh, like let me think of the most recent one. Okay, it's a big one. So I've been emotionally unavailable for like my whole life.
Okay.
And didn't really like acknowledge it or recognize it until I was in my like later 20s. And so this guy that I was dating most recently, we're like in a situationship, and he in my head was like the greatest thing that I had ever experienced. And like looking back now, I'm like, there were so many things that I did not deserve. And I was just like, it's fine. Like, it is what it is. And I think it was really because of the fear that I wouldn't find somebody better, which I know to not be true. Like, I have been manifesting so much in my life now. I've been doing a lot of the inner work for like 5-6 years now. And every person you date just gets better and better because
100%.
we learn more about ourselves, right? Like,
it's a true reflection.
it is. It like they really match you where you're at.
Yeah.
And I think like my biggest lesson was that I didn't value myself enough to recognize that I deserved a partner at my equal level. I was just like, whoever it is fine. And yeah, so now I'm just like, no, I know what I want, I know what I deserve, and I'm, coming from more of that energy now. I genuinely was like, I'm never gonna find love, I'm never gonna be in a happy relationship, and I don't feel that way anymore.
Good
so
for you.
Thank you.
Love that.
It's a big one, big
It is
step
big.
in my life, but it feels really good. What's a moment in love that changed you forever?
So one time I was dating this person for a few weeks, nothing serious. And there's a moment we had a conversation of our feelings, of what we would like. And shortly after that, the actions didn't match the words. And I was just like, okay. Didn't happen again. Okay. And then we spoke, and I said, I don't think you're that into me. And he was like, yeah, I am. And I said, well, your actions don't show that, so I'm choosing to not continue this. And that forever changed. It was recent, a couple of years ago, recent years ago. And it forever changed me because, similar to what I said before, it's like a person's going to show you through their actions and their words. Like there has to be integrity. And if there's no integrity, I don't want it. Because if like we said, I've been actively working on myself for so long. I want to be able to show integrity to my partner, and if they cannot do that for me, then I don't want it. It's very simple, and it's become such a simple practice. It's hard at first, but I'm just like, no, thank you.
Yeah.
And I would literally say no, thank you, and they're like, what? And I'm like, well, certain things are not matching, and if you're still working on things, and you're like, if maybe you went a little ahead of yourself, that's okay, but you know what? No thanks.
Yeah.
So,
Hell yeah.
forever changed me. Yeah.
I love that. I'm so here for that.
Yeah. Integrity is like a really big thing for me. I even teach it to my kids. Like, your words and your actions can't be opposite, because you're giving people mixed signals, and you can really hurt someone's feelings. So, and you can also hurt yourself, and then put yourself in a situation where you're like, damn, like I did this, and now you have to undo it, you have to fix it. Like, you don't want, like, you're just giving yourself extra work for no reason. Like, why? Why do that? So,
like, I don't want to play games. I don't want to read between the lines.
Yeah.
Just show me who you are.
Yeah. And when they show you who you are, thank you.
Believe them.
Yeah. So that was
Love
that
it.
forever changed me.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Okay. Should I do a card or should I do a paper? All right, this one came out.
Okay.
What would your younger self not believe about your life today?
What would they not believe you? I don't know. I think my younger self would be pretty proud of where I'm at, which is really nice. Maybe we'd be surprised that I moved to New York. Although I've always been like a traveler, I always enjoyed being in different places, so I don't know if I would be surprised. I think I would be pleasantly surprised, like, okay, you did it.
Yeah, you did it, and you're doing it.
I'm doing it.
You're doing
I'm
it.
here.
Yes. That's nice.
Yeah. My inner child, I think she's happy for the most part. I think she'd be a little disappointed that, not disappointed, but I think when I was young, I thought I would have like a family really young and, you know, do all of that stuff.
Oh,
But,
the so-called American dream.
right, exactly. That's why I'm like, but I don't know if that's authentic to me. You know, like I think it was just what I wanted because that's what you see, what you're supposed to do. But yeah, so I think I would be proud that I didn't just do what was expected of me. I was like, let's fuck it up.
Yeah, because you're supposed to.
Let's do something else.
Yeah.
Whatever.
With good reason and intention.
Right? Here I am.
I love that.
Let's do one more.
Okay.
One more round. What are you more afraid of, failure or success, and why?
Can I say both equally for different reasons?
Okay, you can say whatever you want.
I've always been a semi-perfectionist. I have a Virgo rising, so that says a lot. But I think the fear of failure now is outside of myself because I have children. And if I fail, am I failing them? Am I setting them up for failure? Am I setting them up for poverty mindset? Am I setting them up to do extra hard work when they're older, like I had to do? In turn, there is a sense of fear of failure, of success, because the magnitude of success in my mind that I dream of and manifesting, I've never seen it firsthand, like in my family. So there's this unknown, right? And there's a fear of the unknown, but then you also have to have the courage to keep going. That just to find courage sometimes is a lot of work. It's just like, oh, I gotta pull it from somewhere. But in turn, I also pull that from the motivation from my children, so they can see and witness things that I haven't yet. So they don't have to do first generational things like I had to.
Yeah.
So they're kind of one and the same for me.
I totally get that. I feel the same way, honestly. Like, I think I'm equally scared of both because on one side it's like, I don't have kids, so I don't have that extra pressure, but for some reason I've always put the pressure on myself of like leaving a legacy and, you know, creating something better for the next generation. So I do have a bit of that, but what I've been noticing in the past few years of being an entrepreneur is that the success can also sometimes feel like so much work, where in my mind, right? Like, because I convince myself that it has to look a certain way, or entrepreneurship means working 24/7 and I'm always available, and you know, that's the mindset behind it. And I had to release that in the past year because I'm like, I don't want to work 24/7. That's actually why I started a business.
Yeah.
It's because I want freedom.
Yeah.
And then I keep doing things that give me the opposite of freedom. And I'm like, wait, what am I doing? So it's such an interesting, like, they're so closely tied.
Yeah. One of my really good friends, he told me one time, because we were talking about this idea of the fear of failure and fear of success. And he's like, Irene, if you can budget a simple salary of like $50,000 a year, you can budget $1 million. I was like, you're right, I can. So just like keeping that in mind and being cautious of filling up my time with just busy work, but to be intentional of what I fill up my time with, so that way I can make space for the success and make space for the rest. Because even rest is an act of like revolution, is an act of love, and it's like I have to rest, and that we don't, just because we are resting doesn't mean we're not working on something or working on ability to be able to keep going. And part of the fear of failure tells us we have to work 24 hours a day, or we have to keep doing something, we have to stay busy, and I'm just like, I'm really exhausted. I don't want to be busy all the time. Like, and part of the reason we work so hard and smart is to be able to have those supposed luxuries of rest and like getting our laundry done because we don't have to do it. Like things like that, like those small wins, you know, or being able to like take a day off and be with my kids, you know, or take them out. So yeah,
I feel like that's where the real success comes in. It's like, how can I enjoy the time that I actually have?
Exactly. Yeah. So one more question. Is it my turn? My turn?
We'll do one more round.
All right. I'll do this one. We keep saying one more round. It's fine.
Well, one more question. So this will be the last one.
If you had to give yourself one piece of dating advice, what would it be?
Leave them so much faster.
That came fast.
Run. No. I mean, yes, that would be my advice to myself, but I think it's more about recognizing our patterns, learning how to see, because there was a lot of times where I was also the toxic one in the relationship, right? Like it wasn't all of them. It was plenty them, but I was also doing a lot of things, and I feel like I couldn't see myself getting out of the spiral. Like we would just continue over and over going through the same thing, and then years later I'd be like, how am I so unhappy? How am I still dealing with the same stuff with this guy? So I think for me that was the biggest thing that I learned, was how to see, like, okay, now we're both just repeating the same things. Like, it's time for me to walk away. It's time for, or I mean, he could walk away too, but that's never how it went. I had to walk away. So I would just leave a little quicker and not let things happen over and over and over again for me to learn the lesson.
Or maybe not even start it because you see the pattern from the beginning. You're like, oh, nope.
Exactly.
Pivot.
Like, I'm good.
Yeah, thanks.
I think that's where I'm at right now at the dating phase. I'm seeing things happen. Some guys have been like popping up, and I'm like, okay, and then they do something, and I'm like, no, thank you. And
the test of the universe to see if you're gonna fall for it. All those tests.
Oh, my ex texted me a few weeks ago, and I was like,
not today, Satan.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it just felt so good to be able to like recognize it. And because before I would have been like, but why?
What does this mean?
Exactly.
It means nothing.
It means nothing.
It means that you are not the same person. You're not the same person. Yeah.
I am definitely not. So yeah, it feels good.
Yeah. That's great.
Well, this was so much fun.
Time flew by.
We did it.
Yeah,
we did good. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being a part of the team.
Thank you for having me. It's been a really great adventure with all of you girls. It's been nice.
Always an adventure at Inner Pttrn.
Always, yes. And thank you for embracing like my craziness sometimes with my schedule and the kiddos and, you know, the single mom life. I love you girls.
We love you. All right, we'll see you guys soon for our next Sippin', whatever it's called.
Sip and spill.
Sip and spill. We'll see you guys for our next Sip and Spill.
Bye.